Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Hi there.
Yeah, Ron. Hey, Todd. Hey, Josh.
Hey, everyone. If you folks want to go ahead and add yourself to the attendees list while we wait for Hong Zhao.
All right. Guys, I think Jennifer is feeling unwell today, so I will be hosting the meeting for today. Like, welcome to join this meeting. Like, I think, let me see, is Alois here today? No, but but I think we can get started on the meeting right now. Okay, so first, let me post the meeting schedule, the meeting doc. Oh, I see it's already here. Anyway, so yeah, so first of all, feel free to add your name to the attendees. So the first meeting item is we will have James to give an update on the conveyor and sandbox application submission. James, like, would you take over?
Yeah, thank you, Hong Zhao. Let me share my screen. Actually, let's see if I can do that. I guess I'll have to share my whole desktop, which is fine. So let me do that. Hopefully you can see my screen share. If you can't, please let me know.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Ramon. Yeah, so thanks for the time, everybody. The conveyor community, you could find us at conveyor.io. We're looking to submit actually for sandbox status from the CNCF. So prior to doing that, I wanted to get feedback from this group and see if there were anything we should consider before we actually make the submission in the Google form. So for those of you that are unfamiliar, the conveyor community, the project is really focused around helping people rehost, replatform, and refactor their applications to Kubernetes and cloud native technologies. So we have kind of a series of projects inside of conveyor around those different areas: rehosting, replatforming, and refactoring. There's kind of 5 main projects inside there that we're working together with. I just wanted to share this document. I could probably, I don't know if this is probably, I should have done it under the conveyor community. Sorry, I think I did it in my own Gmail account. So I could share this as a follow-up with all of you if you're interested in looking at our answers and commenting on them. But the reason we want to put this into the CNCF community, because we believe that why we want to donate this to the foundation and work more closely, is because we believe that there are many other customers and partners and even vendors that would like to participate. And by putting it in the foundation, we think we can encourage more participation. We've already put in place a contributor ladder, a governance model, a code of conduct, and all those things, and everything is licensed Apache 2, I believe. All the projects are Apache 2 licensed inside of the community. And so we have, we'd like to kind of go ahead and move forward with placing this in there. We don't believe that there's anything inside the CNCF today that addresses the onboarding of applications, of like application modernization. A lot of it is focused on new technologies, but not necessarily moving people's applications into there. So we think it could also be valuable to the community from that perspective. There are some projects outside, so we'll help move people to Kubernetes, but also KubeVirt, Rook, CNI, CSI. So we actually integrate with some of those existing projects already. And the outside of the CNCF, there are some similar projects that you see listed here, such as Open Rewrite and others. Some of these that we're actually actively contributing to already. Valero is one that we have developers on the Conveyor community that are also contributing to Valero. And one of the projects is looking at integration with Open Rewrite. So there is opportunity to bring more projects in and integrate with the Conveyor project. And so I just wanted to kind of share this, and there's an existing overview of the presentation, but prior to submitting for Sandbox, we wanted to discuss this. I also invited Suresh Veda. I don't know if he was able to join. I know he is actually at Wells Fargo, and they are using one of the projects today actively to help analyze their existing Java applications to modernize them and migrate them over to Kubernetes. And so, he also saw, and it thinks it's a good idea for us to commit this to the foundation to have external contributors, such as Wells Fargo, but even others in the future. So let me, I guess, pause there. I could stop sharing this specific document, but I can share a link to it in a fashion that you can all comment. I don't know if anybody has any comments or feedback.
I think if you could link it into the meeting notes, that'd be great.
Yep. There you go.
And as you highlighted, I think one of the most important components of the Sandbox submission is to identify overlap with other CNCF projects and the alignment. And we can take a look at that. I'm sure we'll have some feedback subsequently.
Yep, I put a link. I will add it so that you'll have to request access, but then I can add you. And then, yeah, and I probably should have started. So by way of introduction, I work at Red Hat, and then Todd, who's on the call, is one of the engineering managers at Red Hat. That is, a lot of his team are developing these projects upstream. Jonathan's been doing a lot of the community advocacy and kind of growing out the community. And then Ramon is one of the product managers for a downstream offering based on this upstream community. So, and Josh, you might know, he's in our open source program office, who just joined too. So,
yeah, and I'm also on CNCF's tag contributor strategy. So I've been working on Conveyor both from the perspective of Red Hat OSPO, trying to get it contributed, and also tag contributor strategy, making sure that incoming projects actually have all of their paperwork. So I think it's a little better prepared than a lot of our new Sandbox projects.
He's making sure we don't do anything dumb, basically. I think that's the. So yeah, we put that in there.
I can ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Just to get it started. So we talk a lot in this group about delivery pipelines and things like that. Does Conveyor fit in before the delivery pipeline? Like I convert and then I'll use, say, Flux or something to deploy, or does it actually extend all the way to the full delivery too?
Yeah. That's a good question. I could maybe try and take it a little bit, and then I'll let Ramon and Todd kind of maybe speak to specific use cases. So there's 5 projects inside of Conveyor right now: Forklift, Crane, Tackle, Polaris, and Move to Cube. And so they each have a specific area that they're focused on. Forklift, as an example, will take virtual machines and rehost them into KubeVirt. So it's just a rehosting tool. Crane is essentially what it's doing is it's helping you migrate applications between Kubernetes clusters. But in that process of migrating between Kubernetes clusters, what we've found is that it's not just about moving the persistent data, but it's about automating the application deployments is the bigger challenge that most people face because they've manually deployed. And so Crane is actually looking at solving that problem by helping them automate their application delivery as part of migration. And then the Tackle project basically does assessment and analysis of your applications for refactoring. So it has both a human element of asking you questions and then determining like the risks for containerization, like do you have access to the source code, you know, those sorts of questions. And then the analysis piece does both static code analysis, and then it could do decompilation of Java applications specifically, and then look for there's a set series of rules that will look for things that violate, say, 12-factor app rules, like local file systems or hard-coded IP addresses, and start to flag those. So it's interesting because, like, you know, it's not like there's no like silver bullet for moving your app to Kubernetes and cloud native technologies, but we're trying to kind of like organically build small tools that can help people with the hope of eventually kind of integrating them.
Would you say that those both functionality are there? In other words, let's say I have a decent 12-factor app, cloud native app, but I'm running it in a VM. Would I use Crane? Could I use that orthogonally? Are they two different like value props from your projects?
Yeah. Right now they're distinct. So yeah, I think over time it would be great to bring them together, and because like the Tackle project, for example, has an application inventory. So it would be great to have like, you know, some of these integratable, but at the same time, we don't want to build like something that's bloated, I guess, you know, over time. So.
Yeah, but that kind of use case is something that, for example, Move to Cube is willing to address in the future. The idea of being able to create suitable deployment manifests for an application that comes from a more traditional platform out of the source code by analyzing the type of application that it is and creating these deployment manifests accordingly. It is something that, for example, the Move to Cube project already does to a certain extent, and that is something that we in the Tackle project are analyzing as well. So that's a use case that we are taking into account.
Cool, thank you. Sounds like kind of like you can combine these building blocks and different parts. Thank you.
One thing we learned is that we don't know what the end product is going to look like, but we're trying to kind of start small and build upon these things, I think.
So James, I have one question about like I saw that that Conveyor is trying to like modernize like legacy like Java applications into like Kubernetes applications. Like but like if I have a Java application, I still have to build an image, right? Is it this process something that like Conveyor like automatically generate an image for the Java application? Is that how it works?
Yeah, Ramon, do you want to take that because you're in the kind of center of what?
Yeah, that's something that we would like to do in the future. That's something that it's not happening right now. It's a use case that we are analyzing right now. What we have, for example, in the Tackle project, which is more focused on bringing traditional workloads towards Kubernetes, is more about analyzing the application source code to try to find anti-patterns that would prevent the application from running on containers. So it's more focused on the actual application architecture and the source code and finding anti-patterns rather than automatically generating some artifacts to have it deployed. So one of the things we were talking about was the deployment manifest in Kubernetes. That's something we're looking into with Move to Cube, both Move to Cube and Tackle. About the images, it's something that we're studying as well, but it's something that we're not quite there just yet, but it's something that will happen eventually.
Maybe Suresh joined. I don't think he was having trouble catching a link. So Suresh, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself and kind of explain, you know, your interest in the project and that sort of thing, but feel free.
Sure. Yeah. Myself, Suresh Veda. I'm the enterprise architecture in Wells Fargo, and we started looking at two of the tools under the Conveyor chain. One of them is the MDA toolkit and then the move to cube as well. The main intent that we were looking at these two offerings were primarily for taking applications, Java applications running on legacy platforms, and then be able to migrate them to target platforms of our choice. The specific use case that we were looking for is moving from workloads from WebLogic to Tomcat, which is the initial journey, right? And once it has moved from WebLogic to Tomcat, then the next step is obviously to see what we can do to containerize that application, make sure that it is cloud ready by running the cloud compliancy related reports as well. And once it is all cloud compliant, then containerize it and move it into our internal Kubernetes environment and eventually to the cloud as well, right? So that is the journey that we wanted to take it towards. And we've done some POCs to that end, and it has given us good results, right? So the migration toolkit for applications is the one that I'm specifically talking about. It externalizes the rules in an XML file, and you can like go in there and there is like already out of the box, there is like a bunch of rules that we get to use there. Those are specifically meant for moving to the JBoss application server, but most of those rules are pretty much the same if you are targeting something like a Tomcat. So you can take those rules and customize them a little bit, and you'll be able to apply and generate a report that allows you to take these Java applications from something like WebLogic and then apply those recommendations and generate a new version of the application that is compliant for running on Tomcat. Once that is done, the next step is for us to be able to check for cloud compliance. That is where the cloud readiness report comes in handy, and that is another offering from the MTA toolkit as well. So you'd be able to generate a cloud readiness report there, and you might notice when you look at those rules that a lot of those rules are in line with the 12-factor cloud compliance development methodology. So you'd be able to take those 12-factor related violations, and you'd be able to address all of them by generating those reports. Once you have done that, then the application is ready for containerizing, and that's where move to cube comes in handy. So we can use move to cube, and move to cube can analyze your application. It will generate your deployment YAMLs, the Docker files, as well as the actual Docker container images also. And it'd be able to actually push it to the container repository of your choice. It'd be able to use the scripts that are generated for pulling down those container images and then deploy them to the Kubernetes environment. You're not limited to your own internal environment. If you are deploying it to AKS, GKE, or AWS, the options are available also as part of the tool. And a lot of the configuration can be managed in such a way that, that by default, this new to cube, it will ask a number of questions, but there is configurations available in there where you can like put in a bunch of defaults, and that will like make this whole experience a lot more smoother. So that is something that we are looking closely at. We are working on a process of modernizing our internal application portfolio. And these tools are, we are looking at these tools very closely to see how they are going to help assist in moving those workloads to the new future platforms that we are targeting.
I see.
Yeah, thanks, Raj.
Yep. Yeah, I'm done with my question. Thank you for answering.
Yeah, just to clarify some things, MTA has been a product of Red Hat for some years already. There was an open source project behind it, Windup, which was the upstream. We're contributing this project to the whole conveyor initiative under the Tackle project, which is focused on this refactoring of applications. So we have the Tackle end, which basically provides insight for the architects to make some informed decisions on which is the path they want to follow when modernizing and bringing their applications on board on Kubernetes. And also we have Move to Cube, which goes through a more maybe opinionated but automated path to bring these applications into Kubernetes. So there's enough freedom for the decision maker to decide which is the path they want to follow when adopting Kubernetes and moving their workloads towards Kubernetes.
Yeah. Also, just to note, so Suresh and Wells Fargo, they're not using Red Hat's Kubernetes distribution. So just as a point of showing that we're actually trying to build tooling that helps people move to Kubernetes and cloud native, that's not really tied to anything specific inside of our distribution. And we are, I think we really firmly believe that this is a gap, and that if every system integrator and every cloud provider, and Red Hat included, builds their own tooling for this, then it's to the detriment of our, to the detriment of customers and the market. So.
In fact, to stress further on the point, right? Originally, our intent was looking at only Java applications, but if you look closely at the rules for the MTA toolkit, it is actually doing pattern matching, and then based on that, it is generating all these reports. And that kind of pattern matching is not language specific, right? So it can like do direct source code scans. So you don't have to necessarily limit yourself to Java-based projects. If you are having other languages, that pattern matching capability can be extended as well to these other spheres. And we have like looked at some of the competitor tools out there, some of them commercial in nature as well. The quality of reports that are getting generated is a lot more developer friendly when it comes to the MTA toolkit. We certainly have noted that. And our development teams, when we showed these reports to them, really loved what they were getting out of this.
Just one final question, Suresh, from my side. Do you see yourself expanding your usage of the tooling available at Wells Fargo?
Can you repeat that? Sorry, I got a call.
I was just asking, do you see yourself expanding your usage of the tooling at Wells Fargo?
Yeah, so see, at this point of time, we are in the process of evaluating and recommending it, right? From architecture perspective, that is my job, right? To be able to analyze these tools and probably put in the recommendation. And then the various business line of businesses, it would be them that would be ultimately deciding. And that is not decided at this point of time. I have like multiple meetings where I'm presenting to the various CIOs within the organization to see whether they are interested in moving forward with this. They are very close to making that decision, but it is not decided at this point. I'll probably know in like another couple of weeks' time whether we are going to be investing in this and moving forward or not.
Okay. Yeah, it makes no bearing on this. I was just interested in your personal journey and experience. Thank you.
Sure.
One other question. So, Suresh, you brought this. So, does Tackle only address Java apps right now? And if so, is it extensible easily? I mean, to what Suresh said, do you all see us adding other things?
Yeah, for the moment, Tackle only works with Java applications on the analysis bit of it. I mean, Tackle is aimed at becoming a toolkit. So the analysis bit of it is just a part of the whole thing. So we have different components. We already mentioned the application inventory. We have also Pathfinder, which is for high-level assessment of your application portfolio. Let's say that's the questionnaire-based tool that James was referring before. So in terms of analysis, the Tackle analysis bit is focused on Java only, but for the moment, we're aiming at expanding this thing. Because as Suresh said, we're doing pattern matching. The analysis engine that we're using should not be tied up to any language. But since we had the actual knowledge about Java migration based on our own expertise on consulting, doing these things, that's the knowledge that we shared. But yeah, I see the possibility of getting into other languages as well in the future.
So we'd definitely be open to contribution. We've had requests around that, but as you could imagine, Red Hat doesn't have a lot of like .NET experience and things. But we'd be happy to have the help from anybody that's interested.
So Ramon, I have a question for you, right? So apart from pattern matching, is there some reflection lookup as well that is happening as part of this tooling? I don't know the internal working of the tooling, so I was just curious to find out.
I don't think so. No, it's just a static analysis of source code and pattern matching, and that's it, at least for the moment. So we don't. That's why it's flexible enough to work with other languages as well. So we're not getting into the actual JVM and running anything just to do reflection, as you were saying. There's not that much coupling, if you want to see it that way, with the Java language.
Sure.
Awesome, thank you.
Cool.
Great. Well, if there aren't any other questions, I know I've shared the document and with several of you already. Sorry for having you needing to request access. We'll try and move it over to the conveyor account that we have that's wide open. And then if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out.
Last question was, when are you aiming to submit? You looking to do it this week? Like, when do you need your feedback by?
Yeah, that would be great. I think if it's possible to get it by next week, Wednesday, maybe then we can submit then. We'll give you all a week, and if that's enough time.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to get Alois, who's not here, co-chair, to have a look at it as well, and Thomas, who's the co-tech lead.
Okay.
I'll mention to them, and we'll make sure that we have a look at it prior
Okay.
to you submitting.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. If it would, I know this is recorded, but if it would make sense to meet with them at a different time, I'd be happy to do that too. We can have a discussion.
Okay, I think we can do it asynchronously, but yeah,
Okay.
we'll aim for this week.
Great. Thank you.
And James, I think the link that you post in the meeting doc is not publicly like viewable. Maybe you can update the link to something that's other people can comment on publicly.
Yep. I'll switch over to the conveyor account now and create a new doc, put it all in there, and then share it in the chat.
Cool. So we can go to the next topic. It's about the potato head reviews. I think Josh, I can hand it to you. You can take over.
Sure. So I wanted to discuss this a bit. Since a few weeks ago when we merged in the first multi-service support, I've been working on the repo, trying to gradually update the other scenarios and examples. There's other things we want to do in the future, but this is like that we have to get these moved to the new multi-service. So I just wanted to present them. They've been up there for like a little over a week, and if I'm not sure even who's supposed to review them. But one of them updates the GitHub action so that people can build and test in their own forks. And I use that pattern now in the ones that I've addressed so far, which are kubectl, Helm, Customize, and Catch. There's a test in each one, and now the GitHub action with the updated GitHub action, it runs that test. So it's really nice because in my fork I just push it and it runs, and I can make sure. Would love to. So that's kind of like would be good to get that merged in so I can rely on it for the rest. Customize. It's a tricky thing now that we have like 5 or 6 services there. So I've described them each in their own YAML file and ran a customize through them. Just need a review on that. And then Catch, which was pretty tricky actually. So that one I also got updated. It had a pretty big update from 0.2 or whatever we were at to 0.4. So yeah, that's the deal. I don't know how to get more reviews, so I wanted to share that and ask for you all to take a look if you could.
Thanks, Josh. I can take this. If you want to assign them, I can make myself the default reviewer because I think I'm more active than Thomas and Alois. I've just approved your GitHub Actions PR. They take me quite a while to read because they're quite large PRs. But it's the first time I've seen them. So just poke me if PRs in this repo don't get moved. I'm going to move myself to the default reviewer right now. But these are great. So thank you so much for contributing, because this looks like a really good foundation for making this the canonical resource that we're going to use going forward. So I'll make sure that all of these are reviewed by this week. The GitHub PR for Actions, I'm going to merge in right now. Okay.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Now, so.
And again, just maybe for folks who aren't particularly familiar with this repository, Potato Head is becoming the cornerstone of the new working group that we're establishing for cooperative delivery, where we can illustrate some examples of patterns of application and infrastructure delivery So whatever your technology or platform you might be using, there might be a use case where you could use Potato Head, and you could use it at KubeCon and in your talks as well as a kind of a touchstone reference. It's a pretty simple service, but Josh and others have been doing a lot of great work in making it useful, right, and representative of something that might be used in production with various microservices. So please check it out, and if you're interested, do collaborate and contribute. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, Alex, do you have permission on the repo? Like, can you merge the PR?
Yeah, I've got all permissions other than changing defaults, actually. So I can add myself to reviews, but I cannot change the default reviewers. But I've merged that initial PR.
I see. Maybe you can ping a Thomas on that to give you like the permission to change to default reviewers. Okay.
That would be really good.
Yeah. So I think that's all we have for today's meeting. Thanks for the Conveyors team, also Josh, for the updates. And I think that's all for today's meeting. Any questions in the last minute? If no, probably we can end this meeting for today.
I just had one final update, Hong Chao, which is the cooperative delivery group has almost finished COC vote. So it looks like we're going to try and get that rolling in the next week or two. So just stay tuned for that.
I see. Before. Yeah, that's a very nice update. Yeah, nice news.
Yeah, finally.
Sure.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for presenting.